Hey, Cary Bolling here with another trip down the tracks on the grade. And today we're featuring a local group who have dealt with the coronavirus restrictions in a pretty creative way by experimenting with a new take on some old songs. My guest is Brian Daniels of Square Harmonics, and he'll be talking about their new album, Live at 203, original motion picture soundtrack, today, right here on The Grade.
I'm a very ordinary man, trying to work out life's happy plan, doing unto others as I like be done to me. When I find a very lonely soul, being kind becomes my only goal. I feel so much better when I tell them how I feel. I wanna be happy, but I won't be happy till I make you happy too. Oh, life is worth living when we're all giving. Why can't I give more to you? When the skies are gray and you say you're blue, I'll send the sun smiling through. Oh, I wanna be happy, but I won't be happy till I make you happy too. Oh, life is worth living when we're all giving. Why can't I give some to you? Why can't I give more to you?
We just heard a cut from a new album, and with me on the phone today is local musician Brian Daniels of Square Harmonics, which has recently released several songs from that album, Live at 203, original motion picture soundtrack, which was released April 25th on Bandcamp. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, how's it going, Cary?
Going good. Hey, well, listen, last time you were on the show back in early March, you had finished a collaborative project called The Color Room with a number of other local musicians, but this is really a different time and a different project. How did it come about?
It really came about when everything started getting like super strange. Like we recorded this one in the midst of when everything just felt max uncertainty.
With the coronavirus.
Yeah, with the coronavirus. Yeah, when everybody was quarantined, and so I came home one day, and I have like a shelf with a bunch of music books, and one of the songs is like favorite songs of, or one of the books is favorite songs of the 90s, and it's like songs from the early 1900s, and it just clicked something in my brain where I was like, there's something about those songs that there felt like there was some parallels between back then and now. And then from there, I basically, I made the connection between like, how can you do it without infringing on copyrights? So I started looking into public domain. And that was kind of the genesis of the idea was, okay, let's find public domain songs that for whatever reason are either musically interesting or have like lyrical things that felt relevant, you know.
Yeah, well, I noticed that a number of those songs are all the songs. There are 5 songs I found on Bandcamp, and are all those songs old songs that were in the public domain?
They are, yeah. And they're really weird songs. They're very strange.
Yeah, so let me just read some of the. I'll read some of the titles here: "Shine On, Harvest Moon," "School Days," "Ain't We Got Fun." Those 3 I'm very familiar with. "I Want to Be Happy" I wasn't familiar with, and "The World Is Waiting on the Sunrise."
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that last one. That's probably a good, hopeful one for our current situation.
I know. Like you think about a phrase like that, like the world is waiting on the sunrise. It's like that's literally, we're all waiting for this to to kind of just pass over.
So tell me a little bit about who plays on the album. Is it just you, or is that you with other artists? Or tell me a little bit about that.
So Square Harmonics is me and Anthony, but because of the nature of the quarantine, like we literally were not allowed to be in the same room recording with each other. So we which was kind of pushed us in an interesting, different direction, because it almost like freed me up to treat it more like a movie, like a director, where I kind of was going off, staying up way too late, coming up with like the instrument concept and the ideas, and then Anthony, he had most of the gear. So I mean, Anthony just did the music pretty much, and it was a lot of just conversations over the phone, trading files back and forth.
Oh, wow. So it really was a coronavirus project.
Oh yeah, it is 100% quarantine,
Quarantine approved.
Exactly, quarantine approved.
And for our listeners, I know Anthony played on The Color Room, but for our listeners who didn't hear that interview, what is Anthony's last name? And
it's Anthony Hastings, and he pretty much can do anything. I mean, he does like guitar, synth, drum machine, vocals, production, engineering. We are quintessential nerds, basically.
Well, let's listen to some more of Live at 203 right here on The Grade.
The night was mighty dark, so you could hardly see, for the moon refused to shine. Couple sitting underneath the willow tree, for love they pine. Little maid was kind of afraid of darkness, so she said, I guess I'll go. Boy began to sigh, looked up at the sky, and told the moon his little tale of woe. Oh, shine on, harvest moon, up in the sky. I ain't had no loving since April, January, June or July. Snow time ain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. So shine on, harvest moon, for me and my gal. I can't see why a boy should sigh when by his side is a girl he loves so true. All he has to say is, won't you be my bride, for I love you. Can't see why I'm telling you this secret when I know that you can guess. The harvest moon will smile, shine on all the while, if the girl should answer yes. Shine on, harvest moon, up in the sky. I ain't had no loving since April, January, June or July. Snow time ain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. So shine on, harvest moon, for me and you. Nothing to do, Nellie darling. Nothing to do, you say. Let's take a trip on memory ship back to the bygone days. Sail into new city lots and preferred business plots. They've cut them up since those days. School days, dear old golden rule days. Reading and writing and arithmetic, taught to the tune of a hickory stick. You were my queen in calico. I was your bashful barefoot beau. You wrote on my slate, I love you so. When we were a couple of kids.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to The Grade on Big Cabbage Radio, and I'm talking with local musician Brian Daniels about a new album, Live at 203, original motion picture soundtrack. And I made a mistake earlier calling it Live at the 203, but it's Live at 203. And we've been listening to that. And I should note that we're recording this on May 12th amid the coronavirus restrictions in Alaska. So Brian is here on the phone. We were just talking about how this was a coronavirus project. A lot of these songs were reinterpreted in a very interesting way. Can you talk about your process for how that came about?
Oh man, yeah, it's a little diverse. It's a mix of sometimes starting with sheet music, sometimes being inspired by like someone else's performance. I know, I think that Anthony was telling me that The World is Waiting on the Sunrise was inspired by like I think I want to say Willie Nelson, but essentially it's like you take those skeletons and then you sit down with like a drum machine and an analog synthesizer and you say like, okay, well, like I'll figure out how this works, you know, and just by the nature of having a beat on it and messing with like those different tones and then kind of our own sort of we always try to, any project we work on, like throw it into futurism a little bit. So it felt weird to go back like, 100 years and bring these things in a futuristic way. So it was tedious.
Now I'm looking at the album cover that you have on Bandcamp, which is an interesting album cover. You're on the left, I can tell, in a mask with at a keyboard. And then over to the right, I'm guessing that's Anthony with his guitar.
Yeah. So one thing the biggest thing you need to note about the album cover is the upside down guitar, which I had to convince Anthony to do.
And why was that? Why did you have the upside down guitar?
Because I just wanted it to be like a subtle, just as ridiculous as as goofy as we could get. Like,
well, it's interesting. And why live at 203? Original motion picture soundtrack. Should we be expecting a film?
Yeah, we actually did record a performance for it, and that was super interesting because we did the music during quarantine, and then we did like things like the photo and the video were kind of post-production things. If you type in Square Harmonics Live at 203 into YouTube or add us on Instagram, you have access to all those performances. But we did like a black and white, like Ed Sullivan inspired video basically for all the songs. And the funny joke about the original motion picture soundtrack is when you're uploading it to, I think, iTunes, you have to pick a genre. And, so offhand, I was like, whatever, let's just do soundtrack. When you pick soundtrack, they force you to put like original motion picture soundtrack or something along those lines. I remember talking to Anthony at like 2 a.m. and we were just laughing. And then we were like, you know what, let's just be as goofy as possible. Sure.
I was just kind of curious why you say an Ed Sullivan style of videos of these.
So we had a friend of ours come and he does like a little variety host. Like he kind of makes jokes between the songs and it pans over and we pretend to perform them. And then there's like fake applause. It's very goofy. I highly recommend if you want to see us embarrass ourselves, look it up.
Okay, sounds good. Well, on that note, let's take another listen to some more music from Live at 203. You're listening to songs from the newly locally produced Live at 203 original motion picture soundtrack album here on The Grade. I'm Cary Bolling, and talking on the phone with the album creator, local musician, and business owner Brian Daniels of Palmer. So, Brian, how did your business at the 203 kombuchery play into this?
Almost saying Live at 203 was kind of like an inside, like, kind of joke for me and Anthony, because it's like, it's the actual record is the absolute opposite of being live. Like, it's recorded in the middle of the night, in the middle of quarantine. Nobody knows what's going on. But when we got, like, the restrictions were like lightened a little bit, we were able to do that performance essentially. So I guess, yeah, when we chose to call it Live at 203, it was based on kind of that goofy, like, we almost treated it like a weird creative video project, which is, yeah, also inspired the contest that we're going to do for this project. So.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. The rumor has it there is a contest involved with this. So talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So the contest is basically going to be, you can take a short video or however long video, the song playing in the background, and you just doing anything. It could be a picture or a video of your wall, a video of your cat, video of your plant growing. And then you post it and do hashtag Live at 203. On May 31st, we're going to like go through and pick a winner. Prizes is $100, some Monopoly money, or a lot of Monopoly money, and a mystery prize from 203. Is the mystery prize $1 million? Probably.
Wow. Is that Monopoly dollars?
I mean, we'll see. You put out a video and we'll see.
And the music you use, is it music? Does it have to be from the Live at 203 album, or can it be anything?
Yeah, that's kind of what we were going for, is just play the record, and take a little short video and post it, and
I downloaded the album from Bandcamp. Can you get it other places as well? Where else can you listen to it?
We're doing Bandcamp and iTunes. So it's available on iTunes. Just type in Square Harmonics. It'll come right up.
What did you enjoy about the project?
Oh boy, it's like asking, like, what did you enjoy about being horribly quarantined?
Okay, what did you find challenging about the project? How's that?
I think it was challenging in the sense that it was like isolating, and I missed being able to work in the normal way that we would work. But what I enjoyed was that I think the challenge kind of freed us up creatively to do something that we probably wouldn't have done otherwise. So I always think that, like, bad times, or times that are just not ideal, push you to be more creative.
Mm-hmm. Any future projects in the works?
Yeah, actually. So we're launching with the new issue of Make a Scene, which is in about a week. A project that we're really excited about. It's called 3021, and it's Anthony singing, me singing. We got a robot singing and a instrumental voice, and that's kind of like the next thing. Wax and Rosewood, the record with Stefan, is down the line, like, really soon.
That's Stefan Marty, who was on The Color Room.
That record is crazy. Like, we got a lot of the stuff recorded for it, and yeah, it's going to be very cool. We're also doing a record with David from 203, like a jazz ensemble.
And what's David's last name for our listeners?
David Bortz. He's surprisingly good at saxophone. It's crazy.
Awesome. I can't wait to listen to those too. Okay, so speaking of listening, here's one last song from Live at the 203 by Square Harmonics.
Every road is heavy.
Square Harmonics from their new album Live at 203, available on iTunes and Bandcamp. Is the album complete, Brian, or is there more to come?
That EP was our, we were in a rush to get that out there because it felt like strangely relevant, like songs like School Days and stuff. But we do have a full record, so it'll be 5 more songs coming out, and the other ones will have a little more fleshed out. We'll have some bass in there and stuff. So that will be coming out, I'm hoping within like the next week. So probably by the time this thing airs, actually.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Brian Daniels, for being on the show today. I'm Cary Bolling, and you've been listening to The Grade here on Big Cabbage Radio. You can listen to The Grade every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on Big Cabbage Radio. New shows premiere every Friday, and you can catch us in the stream at radiofreepalmer.org or ask your smart device to play Radio Free Palmer. Recent shows are available at radiofreeamerica.com. Just search for The Grade.